Hey guys, welcome back to the Interceptor, and we are here with another top 10, and today we are doing the top 10 mutants in MCOC in January 2021, and this is the third time I've attempted to record this video. The first time, there was issues with my camera, where it was not synced. The second time, the first half of the video just didn't record, which is weird because I never hit record a second time. Like, I never stopped it and restarted it. It just only recorded the second half. So you see like 8 and up, and that's it. So we're going to be going over the top 10 champions in MCOC that are in the mutant class, as well as we are going to be seeing 4 honorable mentions in this list. So at number 4 in the honorable mentions, we are going to be having Strife. So he was good enough that I thought he was worth mentioning, but I really just don't like him. While I'm making this list, I am going to try... I made this... Like, the way I made this list was who I believe is the top champions. Now, I didn't penalize or put anyone higher based on how much I like them. That's just going to be part of my commentary. Like, I tried to be as objective as possible. It's like, yeah, I know I don't like this champion, but if I know that they're good, for example, one champion like that, Omega Red, I strongly dislike Omega Red. However, I didn't let that change his ranking. He's still going to be pretty high in this list because I know he's that good. And the thing with Strife is, A, I don't like him, and B, I don't think he's good. So, there you go. Strife has an unbelievably annoying playstyle. He is only useful in very long-term content, and he's just not all that for me. I'm aware that he is one of only 3 champions in the game that to date has soloed the Abyss Collector, which I think is really, really cool. I did watch that whole video, as well as I did see the video where Suida finished a whole Abyss Path itemless, and he cleaned up the boss with Strife, which I thought was really cool. But yeah, he just ain't all that for me, and I don't think he's very good. But I think he's 14th best for sure. Now we'll go into 13th place, or 3rd place in the honorable mentions, and this is going to be another champ that a lot of people like, and this is going to be Colossus. Now, in my opinion, Colossus is the #1 most overrated champion in the entire game. I think he is #1 most overrated. A lot of people think he's like a top 5 mutant. No, he's not even a top 10. And I'm just tired of people saying, oh my god, just use Colossus. Like, no, he's useless. He's not good in Alliance War. He is not good in Alliance Quest. He is semi-mediocre for Act content at best, and I just don't think he's very good, to be honest. I've seen the gameplay. I've tried him out. In fact, I have a 5-star that is at rank 5, and I did try to use him. He is Sig 200. I took him to Sig 200 for the testing, and I gave him the full synergy team, and he just didn't impress me. And that's it, to be honest. I didn't like it. So, Colossus at number 13, and we're going to go into number 12 right away, which is going to be a champion that I think people just kind of forget about. Like, when you stop and think about the champion, you're like, yeah, they're pretty good, but they just don't get much use, and that is Emma Frost. Emma Frost at number 12, number 2 in the honorable mentions. I think she's quite good. I do. I think Emma Frost is quite good. I took her to rank 2. She was one of my first rank 2s, and she just stayed at rank 2. She's a champion who obviously has a lot of immunities while she is in her diamond form. She's immune to my knowledge, every single damage over time debuff, with the exception of degeneration. Maybe Rupture she's also isn't, but I'm not 100% sure on that, just because I don't have like a distinct memory of Emma Frost being immune to it, not because I know for a fact she isn't. She's also immune to stun while she's in her diamond phase, but yeah, Emma Frost, she's good. She has power control when she's in diamond form, where her heavy attacks give her a lot of power and they give the opponent very little. For example, if you start off the fight with 3 heavy attacks, you'll be at like 1.2 bars, so you get a lot of power, and the opponent's still at like 0.5 bars. Like, you severely limit their power gain. So I do think that Emma Frost deserves that spot. And also, when you build up a bunch of prowess, you throw that L2, you can do some serious damage. Number 1 on the honorable mentions list, a champ I do not have as a 5-star, but I do have a rank 4 6-star of, is going to be White Magneto. Now, while his primary role is as a support champion with his pre-fights, which make stuns passive for attacking metal and hero champions, or, well, not metal and hero, but like one of the two. They don't have to be both, but it does work for both. In addition to his synergy with himself that gives hero champions plus 8% attack and metal champions plus 10% ability accuracy, he also has a synergy with Professor X that enhance the potency of the increased attack that you get from his pre-fights. He is also a very useful champion just using him. Like, he is viable to use in Alliance War, although he's not really the best option for anything. He is viable. I've seen him used before, and the gameplay looks pretty good. And his numbers, they're not bad. They're seriously not bad. So, White Magneto, first on the honorable mentions, and we will get into the top 10 now. And the first champion in my top 10 at number 10 is going to be Professor X. Now, Professor X kind of has a similar thing with Strife, where he really only shines in long-term content like Abyss and stuff like that. And I've seen a lot of Professor X gameplay, and the solos look really, really good. And I did rank mine up, which was primarily for defense, but I did use him. I like Professor X. He's cool. And I just think that all the champs ahead of him are better than him. So at number 10, we are going to have Professor X. Let's get right into number 9, and at number 9 spot, we're going to have Havok. Havok is one of my absolute favorite champions, probably top 10. I tested him out a ton when he first came out, because if you guys don't remember, he was released as a 3-star instantly at like right when his month started. He was available through one of the side quests or one of the objectives to be obtained as a 3-star. So I got him, maxed him out right away, took him to max sig, and I did a bunch of testing, and the gameplay really, really impressed me. He was putting up numbers that no other 3-star was putting up, and I took my 5-star up to rank 4 while I waited to get a 6-star, pulled a 6-star, and duped recently. Well, not recently, but like semi-recently, and I took him up to rank 3. I think he is a super cool champion. He definitely has his use in Alliance War. That L3 can do some serious damage when you get your prowess, and then you get the 10 debuffs on the opponent, and then you throw it. He also has his energy resistance. He's a pretty good Korg counter. And yeah, Havok is just a very solid champion overall. Often overlooked, but I think a really good champion. So, Havok at number 9, and we'll go into number 8, which is going to be a champ I mentioned earlier, Omega Red. Regardless of how much I personally dislike Omega Red is awesome. He is a very good Alliance War attacker. He's not super useful in long content. Even I'd go as far as to say he's not incredibly useful in late act content, although he is not bad at all. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying he's not like a top option. Although for specific fights he might be. Like champs that you don't want to shrug off. Because at 10 what are they called? 10 spores, he prevents a shrug off. But yeah, Omega Red is awesome. Obviously there's a rank 4 Omega Red. I don't know if there's only one, but there is at least one with Lizer. And the gameplay looks great. I watch all her war videos. I'm really, really happy that she is back to uploading, because I always enjoyed her videos, and hopefully the rank 4 Omega Red kind of brings that back. But I really don't have much to say about Omega Red, just that I dislike him. And yeah, he's number 8. He's a great champion. And if you're looking through these videos, please do not compare number 8 on this list to number 7 on this list. Like, don't go to the number 7 Cosmic Champion and be like, oh, so you think this champ is better than Omega Red? No, not at all. Mutant is the best class by far. And the number 10 option on this list, Professor X, he's probably better than some of the other lists' fifth option. And I'm being dead serious. He probably is better than multiple of the other 5s. Like, that means absolutely nothing. You have to look at the class. And if I end up doing after all these 6 videos for the classes are done, if I end up doing a top 30 overall in the game list, Omega Red has a serious chance, despite being at number 8, of being in the top 30 champs in the game. I would not put it past him. But we'll have to see when I make that list. So that is number 8, and we'll head on to number 7, a champ I have at rank 3 Sig 200, and that is Namor. Namor, I think that he kind of gets discredited a little bit because people are like, oh, you need him to be max Sig to use him for the fights he's really good for. Yeah, but what endgame player doesn't have multiple Sig 200 6-stars? They all do. That's the answer. The answer is they all do. And it doesn't need to be... You don't need to be a spender to have that. I know of several free-to-play players that have 5 Sig 200s. It just depends on what content you finish and where you finish in, I don't know, like War and Alliance quests. Although that's not directly translated because those don't give SIGs. But Namor, don't even use him as a 6-star. Go back to a 5-star. Every player, the game just gives everyone a ton of 5-star Sig stones. Within a month, maybe 2 to 3 months tops of saving, you can get this guy from Sig 1 to Sig 200. And that gap, or the lack of Sig stones that existed when Namor came out and why people were discrediting it, that no longer exists. So with the progression of the game and how much more they gave Sig stones, that completely 100% eliminated that as a problem in my eyes. Everyone always says, oh, not everyone has a Sig 200 Namor. Yeah, because you choose not to have a Sig 200 Namor. You can't make that a downside. That it's your own personal choice not to put the Sigs into him. There's no excuse anymore. Maybe there was an excuse in 2018, 2019, but not in 2022. There is not. So anyways, Namor is awesome. He heals from suicides, obviously, while he is attacking. He has very solid damage, in addition to the fact that if you throw a special 3 with Namor, it gives you a passive Fury that increases your attack rating as a rank 3 6-star by, we're just going to round up to 9,000, which quadruples your attack rating. Your attack rating goes from 3,042 to 12,000. Quadruple, and it can stack. It's not limited to 1 Fury. You can get 2, 3 Furies and throw off a massive special 2 that does hundreds of thousands of damage. And with the L3 skip button that came along recently, you don't have to waste all that time looking in the animation. You just throw 1, skip, throw 1, skip, throw 1, skip. Although it wouldn't be super consecutively unless you timed it at the end, in which case you could only do it twice. And then a third time you would have to parry, hit with a heavy, and then throw it in the middle of the heavy attack to get a third one off. But I digress. And Namor is, to this date, one of the top options for fighting Terex, Electro, Korg, any champion that reflects damage. And it doesn't even have to be a direct source. There's that node where you have to throw a special attack every 15 hits. With Namor, you just don't have to. Just whenever that degen applies, just be hitting him, and it'll get reflected onto him. The same thing happens in the 7.3 Kang boss, where you fail one of the steps and you don't get to the correct bar of power. If you're hitting him, the damage just gets reflected onto him. That's not an ability that you lose from class disadvantage. And it's also not an ability that can be affected by ability accuracy reduction, to my knowledge. I could be correct about that, but I'm pretty sure it isn't affected by ability accuracy reduction. But yeah, Namor's just an awesome champion. His medium inflicts bleed, and if it fails to inflict bleed, you just gain extra charges of outrage to go towards your Imperious Rex. And Namor's just a great champion. But now we'll get into number 6, and I'm sure you guys were waiting for this champion because I worship him, and I think he's so good, and he is just one of the most underrated champs in the entire game. That is Gambit. Gambit deserves his spot at number 6. First off, let's talk about not even Horseman Gambit. Let's just talk about Gambit on his own. So, first off, he heals from suicides. You don't need Horseman for that. The Flak Jacket eats the bleed damage and you just heal. Also, his medium attacks are, I forget what the wording is, kinetic. Where is it? Yeah. These attacks utilize a burst of kinetic energy, striking them with reduces the damage of the opponent's passive degeneration and direct damage effects by 100% for 0.2 seconds. That does apply to things like Electro, Korg. Also Psychic Thorns. He heals from Psychic Thorns. I also forgot to mention Psychic Thorns in his example of Namor because he does reflect that damage, and regular Thorns as well. Something also Gambit bypasses. That's something that not a lot of people know about because that's an ability people often associate with Omega Red, and Gambit has that too. Like, it's really cool. Not to mention that his Flak Jacket absorbs damage. Like, for example, at this rank, it leaves once he has taken 20,000 damage, which is slightly less than half his health. And he gains extra armor rating, and as you see there, incoming bleeds suffer negative 150% potency. There are things that can bypass that. For example, one of the nodes in 7.3 on the safeguard path has a thing where your buffs just get flat in potency for every what are those charges called? I forget what the charges are that you keep between fights. I'm blanking on the name, but you guys know what I'm talking about. If Gambit were a defender there, yes, that would bypass it if you got like 4 or 5 charges, but I've never seen anything bypass it when I'm using Gambit. Now, we'll talk about Gambit as a horseman. Obviously, you need to use Apocalypse, get him to 4 charges, put a pre-fight on, enter the fight with Gambit. He is the only champion in the game that has a quote-unquote immunity to block damage. You build up your 10 charges, and as long as you don't throw a heavy attack, you don't take block damage. And it's as simple as that. So his only real downside is unblockable attacks, because you got to either dex that or eat it to the face. But that's so rare, and you can just not use him in those cases. It's not a downside to him. On top of that, I personally consider Gambit to be the number 1 horseman for Alliance, the number 1 horseman for Incursions, as he's a very long-term option. Now, while he does need to be a horseman and have the synergy with Apocalypse, which means you need to keep Apocalypse on the team, Apocalypse is also one of the best Incursions champions in the game, which I will talk about later. And yeah, Gambit's just awesome. So the main cycle with Gambit for running suicides, at least, is that you want to get to your L3, you want to bait out every bar of power the opponent has, you're going to parry heavy, right after the heavy, throw your L3, and then you can do a medium dash, land 5 heavy attacks, and then a combo, and then throw your L1, and if you don't care about the recoil damage, you will get 3 L1s in after all the heavies, while you still have your prowess up, and that can be 200, 300, even more, 1,000 damage. So, 200,000-300,000 damage in just that one cycle. In addition to that, I do use Gambit every day in Alliance Quest. Actually, I can probably join Alliance Quest right now. I'm not going to fight, but I can join. And I use Gambit in Alliance Quest every day. This is my team. Look, this is the team I used yesterday. And yesterday, I got through the entire path without a single item, and I'm not even running suicides, which means Gambit wasn't even healing. But yeah, we can go up to our first fight just while I'm talking here. And I think I've said enough about Gambit, but people just really sleep on him. Horseman Gambit is one of the most unique and useful champions in the entire game that just does not get used enough. And we'll move on to the top 5. So the top 5 were extremely easy to get or to pick out. I was able to knock out the top 5 like instantly pretty much when I started this, and then the others required a little more thought. And at number 5, a champ I do have is a 6-star, but he's unduped and is a 5-star item Sig 200. That is going to be Archangel. Archangel is awesome, and he pretty much destroys anything that can be bled and can be poisoned. Anything that is not immune to one of those two things, he destroys. He is one of the fastest options for finishing fights in Alliance War. He is a top champion for completing legend runs and mythic runs, and he is just awesome. Archangel is a very good champion, especially as a horseman where you have increased ability accuracy, which means you get more bleeds, more poisons, and therefore more neurotoxins, in addition to the synergy with Apocalypse, which makes your heavy attack pause neurotoxins, so they keep doing damage, but they stop expiring, which is super cool. Archangel is just incredible. And Archangel is one of the main reasons that the Apocalypse ban in Alliance War is somewhat common. Like, it's not uncommon. It's not a weird ban. It's a good ban. And now we'll get into number 4. This is a champ I have as a 6-star. Do I have as a 5-star? Yes, I do, but my 6-star is rank 3, and that is going to be Cable. Cable does not need to be a horseman. In fact, his ability comes from just having Apocalypse on the team, the synergy. And what the synergy does is it removes Cable's limit of only being able to place 1 degen. So he can now place as many as he likes. So 1 heavy attack inflicts 2 as long as both hits land, for example. And Cable is basically Archangel, except the opponent just needs to not be immune to degen. And there are extremely, extremely few degen immunes in the game. Extremely few. So he is very useful. Like I said, he does not need to be a horseman, which means that Apocalypse, you can just use him as normal. And Cable provides a useful synergy to Apocalypse that allows Apocalypse to start with 4 charges going into his first fight, which just makes Apocalypse better. So you can use Apocalypse at his full power with all 4 prowess right off the bat, and you can use Cable at his full abilities. Like, sure, maybe he won't heal from suicides, but then you'll get the healing that comes from Cable's ability when he heals when he gets to a bar of power, which is again amplified if you throw on a horseman pre-fight. The chances are increased. But yeah, Cable's just awesome, and he deserves the number 4 spot. Number 3, a champ I honestly don't have much to say about, but everyone knows he's insane. That is Red Magneto, the best counter almost always to to metal champions in the game, and he's also one of the best incursions horsemen with the pairing of buff cornucopia, and since his heavy attack restarts the duration of the prowesses, and it pretty much doubles them, although that does stop, I think, when you reach like 30 or 40, I'm not sure. Each buff that he resets the timer on or starts, like let's say you're at 20, you charge heavy, you get to 40. I'm not sure if the limit's 30 or 40, but if it's 40, this is what I mean. Each of those buffs can trigger it, and they all trigger the same buff, which means that when you hold heavy attack, you get 30 furies, or 30 power gains, or 30 regens, and the regens are crazy potent, and they get you to full health in half a second. So basically it's just a game of charging heavy attack until you have a buff you want, and then you just kill the opponent in one hit with your L3, and it's insane. You can also pair that with the hack that gives you plus, I think it's like 10% for every, maybe it's like 4 or 5%. All that extra attack for every buff that you have, which is really awesome. But yeah, Red Magneto, just an awesome, awesome champion. Does not need the Horseman. He has his use in Alliance War, and he gets used very often. And I've never personally seen him brought into Alliance Quest, but I'm sure he has his use there as well. Number 2. So I'm sure you know who the number 1 and the number 2 are. But at number 2, we're going to have Apocalypse. Apocalypse is a crazy, crazy champion. Like I said before, he makes Horsemen at the expense of losing his prowess, which he can gain back later, though, in the quest or in the incursion or in whatever you're in, basically. Personally, I usually use him in my first fight in Alliance Quest, give the Horseman to Gambit, and then I use him on a Mutant to get him back to 3 charges in case I need to clean up someone's fight or something. But yeah, Apocalypse is just an awesome champion. He has crazy damage. He is one of only 3 champions to date that has soloed the Abyss Collector alongside Strife and Aegon. And Apocalypse is just crazy. He has the synergy with Strife that allows him a lot of the extra damage from his debuffs, which is super cool. And he's just a monster. He is, like I said before, so good for creating Horsemen, the synergy for Cable, but he also is just a crazy champion on his own. When I'm done making these 6 videos, I'm going to make a top 30 overall champions in the game, so not including class. And Apocalypse is the highest champion that is not number 1 in this class. So I have Apocalypse at number 5. That's what I think I'm going to put him at, either number 4 or number 5. I'm not sure about that. And yeah, he is the number 1 champion that is not number 1 in his class, and he is ahead of multiple champions that are number 1 in their respective classes. So Apocalypse at number 2. We'll get into number 1, a champ I do not have personally, and that is Kitty Pryde. Obviously, there is a lot of gameplay out there. Go watch Legacy for awesome Kitty Pryde gameplay. He brings her to war pretty much every war. He is a rank 4 6-star Kitty Pryde, which I'm very jealous of. I wanted Kitty Pryde to be my 3rd rank 4 6-star after Hercules becomes my 2nd. Hopefully soon, because I should be able to do that rank up when 6.4 drops. But unfortunately, this feature just kind of sucks, and there's only 5 champs out of 5 champs out of 24 that I want, and 19 that I do not want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy a discounted feature from the black market store every 2 weeks, and then I'm just going to open those up all at the end of the crystal. Hope I get Kitty Pryde. Literally close to all I care about in that crystal. But yeah, she is just awesome. Like Ghost and Quake, she introduces a new, not even like a specific champ play style, but she just revolutionizes so much of how you fight. You can just ignore the fact that the opponent has bars of power, because when she's duped, she just doesn't take any damage while phasing. So you can literally sit there in the corner as long as you don't throw specials and as long as you are phasing and unblockable, and you can literally do like swipe in, medium, light, dash back, and then just keep going in, doing these short combos. Does not matter if your opponent throws an L3, because you're just not going to take damage anyways. And you can kill the opponent by literally just doing that. That is all you have to do. Obviously, you could alternatively go for massive special 2s with all those prowess, and I've seen that do some crazy damage, and there are many people in my alliance that also use her, and the gameplay is really fun to watch. But Kitty Pryde, definitely the number 1 mutant. I have her placed at number 3 in the game, after Ghost at number 1 and Quake at number 2, obviously. But that is going to conclude the top 10 mutant list, so we're just going to go over all the picks quickly. Honorable mentions are Strife, Colossus, Emma Frost, White Magneto, and then the top 10 in order from 10 to 1 are Professor X, Havok, Omega Red, Namor, Gambit, Archangel, Cable, Red Magneto, Apocalypse, and Kitty Pryde. So that is going to conclude my top 10 mutant champions list in January 2022. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next class, which will be skill. Bye.